Greetings, I'm Sister Aisha Diana Conwood, currently the Assistant Commissioner of Agriculture for the U.S. Virgin Islands. Time for the lioness to roar. You know, this is the lion's voice. Lioness, let's roar, lion pour. Ah!
Yes, Jah people, this is Michael Shamai representing. I will say, hear the lion voice, saying it is time for the lions and the lionesses to tell their own story. King David killed Goliath with a stone, we original dread.
So, as we mentioned earlier, exercise is probably one of the greatest ways to improve mental health. And I would be a hypocrite if I sat here and said I exercise all the time. It's still something that is a work in progress for me as well. But it really is, research has shown that exercise is something that is very much helpful. Eating healthy as well. I think about the foods that we eat now, the stuff that's in the food. Processed foods are not good for us, so being mindful of what we're putting in our body, fruits, vegetables, and also what we're consuming. What do we watch in terms of what we see? So what are we watching? What are we listening to? Those things are important too.
So you can't watch the murder shows 24/7.
No, please don't watch the murder shows 24/7, and also before bed. In terms of the question about what are some signs of depression. So signs typically would be if you are sad, you're down, you're feeling sad for a period of 2 weeks or more. That's typically what we would say, so consistently. If you, I would say, and some other signs would be, and also the signs that I'm about to explain doesn't mean you have depression, but these are some things to look out for. If you're having difficulty sleeping, and that wasn't an issue before, lack of appetite, or you're eating more. So the eating is outside of the behavior of what you're used to. And if you have low motivation, difficulty concentrating, focusing, and then for our community specifically, which there are some differences, if you're finding that you're more angry, more irritable, let's just say you're cussing out people more than you usually would, your tolerance is low. And again, this is stuff that's out of character. These are some of the things to look out for.
Well, lion voice, tell them that's the people first choice. Lion voice, make the lioness them feel nice. Lion voice, with the lion cubs we sacrifice. Lion voice, got to show the people them the life. Lion voice. Emmanuel, those anointed by Samuel, we lions like Daniel, brothers like Ishmael and Israel, here to break the spell. Oh companions, I bid farewell, cause I see you joining up with the legions of hell. I spit flames, fire blaze, I cut a clear path through the wrath, protected by his rod and staff, while the wicked blow away like the shaft in the aftermath of their own craft, snared in their own trap set like Hamlet. I never will forget my root, King David's offshoot. That's why I speak the truth at all costs. Don't wanna get tossed in the sinking mire, the forgetful fire, full of tormented souls who never achieve their goals. That's why I hold up the banner high. Rastafari abide with I. Let's ride for life. Tell the youths about the king in the heights, Mount Zion nice. And you ain't got to die to see it. That's the lie, you see it. That's why so many perish, never even try to see it. When you could buy a plane ticket, straight fly and see it. Come on. Say, you should do good, be good, live.
Greetings in that divine name of His Imperial Majesty Emperor Haile Selassie the First. Glory and honor the name of His chosen Queen Empress Waziri Menen. My name is Kwasi Bansu, aka Dejazmatch Kwasi, aka Ras Kwasi, aka the Reading Ras. I'm a creative industry attorney, I'm an artist, I'm an author, I'm an actionist, and right now I am the host of Lion Talk. Welcome to the Lion Voice Network, and welcome to Lion Talk. We have an extra special episode this evening, and I want everyone to prepare. We're going to go deep into the realms of mental health. One of the jobs that I have, to Iman community, to the family, is to bring resources that can help to facilitate healing, because a lot of us are going through a process of healing. There's a lot of trauma in our community. We're going to get into it. There's a lot of things that we need to address. And, with the global situation, World War III is here. Whole heap of things are going to be happening. There's no better time to go inside and to start that relationship with the Most High and with yourself, so that we can have a healed community. So that being said, I have a very special guest. I went into the network. I tell people that my superpower is the network, and I went deep. I know this sister for nearly 30 years, even though she look like a young thing. And I don't want the people going our DM and rate it. No, don't bother with it. She's a from high school days, but she's doing great things now in terms of counseling. We're going to get into her professional qualifications, and I thought there was no better person to address this topic of mental health. And we know in Rastafari, we have it, the Panafrican community, we have it, the wider Black family, we have it, and that's what we're going to focus on for this episode. So help me to welcome Tanya Campbell. Welcome, my sister. So you see right away the Jamaica roots there. She puts her hand to herself.
Why did you have to tell people that we've known each other for 30 years? Jeez. Anyways, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes. And just introduce yourself, your professional qualifications, what you do, and your relationship with the topic of mental health.
Sure. So I am Tanya Campbell, and I am a therapist. I should say I'm a social worker, and I provide one-on-one counseling. I also do consultations as well, or I have a consulting company aligned with TLC Wellness and Consultation Services, where, as I said, I do one-on-one counseling, and also I provide training, education, and workshops to organizations and corporations, mostly related to issues of mental health concerns, as well as addiction issues. I've been doing this work for, let's say, a little over 20 years. And, I think that it's so important for us to be having this conversation. And I'm really happy to see that over the years, we are really talking about it more. We still have a ways to go, but it's just great to know that we're talking about it. I think about 20 years ago when I was doing this work, this was not a topic that we had in our community. So to be able to see the change that's happening is, it's amazing. What else can I say about myself? I love working with our people, and we really do need the support. We have a lot of trauma in our community, and us having conversations like this and people coming to get support to see people like me is a step in the direction of healing ourselves.
So just where were you born? Let's get into just a profile. Where were you born? I didn't tell people you're a big basketball star in high school. We never got that song. I never want, but just give a little background of yourself.
Sure.
So they know the human being of Tanya Campbell.
So I was born in Toronto. I was born in Toronto, and pretty much grew up in East York. Then I moved to the West End. Then I moved to Scarborough, where I met you, and now I'm further east, on the east end of the city. And I went to university in Toronto. So I did my undergrad here and also did my master's as well. And I was very consistent. So my undergrad and my master's are both in social work. So you can see how much I love this work and how I really am committed to supporting our people and really having this conversation. So that's a little bit about me. Yes, I played basketball. I don't play basketball now, just focusing on maintaining the health as best as I can. And you know what? It's so important for me to maintain my health in terms of being physically active. I could be more physically active, but when I think about the health challenges that we experience as Black people because we're not as physical, and then you think about the mental health piece as well, it's really important for us to combine the two. I don't know if we'll necessarily get into that today, but once we focus on the physical and we heal or we maintain that, that also helps with the mental. It's a contributing factor to improve the mental as well.
And the item can't see, but she's very slim into her time, you know, so we give thanks that she's maintained her athleticism over the years. I want to ask a question. Do you remember the first time that we met?
I don't remember the first time we met, but I do remember that my earliest memory of you is, yes, when we were in high school. And you were the jokester, very, very, very much so. And I think that back then there was a long period where I didn't really take you serious because you were always just making jokes. And so now to see how I'm going to say you've grown and developed. And I think at this stage when we are, I'll say our friendship has, I'd say over the more recent years, I just see that you're very responsible, you're just focused, and there was a part of you that I didn't know, this part about you, and it was a pleasant surprise. So being able to connect again all these years later, even though we have been connected, I'd say at arm's length, I think that it's great that we are focusing on this work, and also we're able to have this conversation, and we're able to keep our friendship and have memories from back when we were in high school. So exactly. I love that.
Exactly. And I love the positive work that you're doing. Explain what a social worker does. We hear the term social worker, but what is a day in the life of a social worker? Just give us some context.
I will say that social work, you can branch into so many different areas, because we're looking at the social aspect, I would say, of society, people in society. So me specifically, my focus, I don't want to say my expertise, because I think everyone's an expert on their life, but my specialty, I would say, is addictions and mental health.
Okay.
And what I've done over the years is I've done one-on-one counseling. So that's individual counseling with people where they come and see me, and we would talk about issues and concerns that they're faced with, and I would be that support and that guide to help them navigate the challenges that they're experiencing, providing them with resources and services that are available to them within their community. I've also facilitated group therapy sessions, what I would also refer to as psychoeducational sessions, where we're teaching. There's more of a teaching aspect, and I've done teaching as well. So I was an adjunct lecturer at U of T quite a while ago, and I supervised Masters of Social Work students. So there's so many different things that you can do, and those are just some of the bits of experience that I have. And I also have coordinated programs, helped develop Canada's first 21-day residential treatment program for people of African and Caribbean descent. That program is no longer, but that's one of the highlights of my career, where I was a part of a group to help people like us to get the support that they need without having to explain themselves in terms of what their background is, or experiencing some form of racism, discrimination, or feeling left out. So to be a part of that was really amazing. So that's some of my experience over the years.
Yeah. And then what, because one of the things I love when, we reconnected with Star Reason, is that you're passionate about Black people. And, I consider myself a Panafrican brethren, I really, that's where, I love the human family. Growing up in Toronto was very multicultural, so we have brethren of all races, and I give thanks for that. But I realize, with knowledge that what has been done to our people. When you start to get the story, and then you see that we're still suffering. A lot of the problems that we see in our community are stemming from our history, and in our journey. And I wanted to know what are some of the common challenges that you see, particular to Black people, because you served, all people, but I know your passion is for our community. What are some of the common challenges that we struggle with as a community, can you say?
I would say, so when you had mentioned that a lot of us are struggling, I would say struggling in silence, in
Yes.
isolation, and just I think there's the thinking that there's something wrong with you, that you can't be supported, you can't be helped, and being able to find a place where you can really talk about that. I say that it's difficult for people in our community to do that, because that's admitting that something is, I don't want to say something's wrong, that something's off, something needs to be addressed. And then when you admit that, then the second step is, are you going to do something about it? So I would say it's also the shame and the guilt of certain experiences that we may have had, things that have happened in our lives, whether it be trauma related, whether it be work related, or just, I'd say mental wise as well, the way we think, the way we process things. So being able, I shouldn't even say being able, but isolating and internalizing that, I think that's the biggest challenge. But when people finally do come to get that support, I see it's like this opening, right? Like it's this, I'll say it's like a flower that's opening, right? And it takes a while to develop trust. But once that trust is developed, I love to see the progression and the healing. And my goal is to help people on their healing journey and also help them to heal in as natural ways as possible.
Yeah, and one of the things, I tell my sister here is, I've been encouraging her to write a book. All of my creatives and professionals, I say, write the book, so that, you can share. Because a lot of times we work in the system and we accumulate all of this knowledge and we have demonstrated all of this competency, but we don't take the time to build our own brand, to really develop ourselves, and we take ourselves for granted as Black people. I think that's one of the effects of slavery, colonialism, mental slavery, where we always are seeking that validation in a bigger system, and we don't realize that we're the ones that keep the system alive, for the most part, with our hard work. I want to know, in terms of the Black community, because I want to also talk about some solutions. I don't want to just be doom and gloom, but I want to know, because stress, stress is one of the biggest issues, as you say, the 30-day cycle. I got to pay mortgage, I got to pay or rent, I got to pay light bill every 30 days. I got to hit this. And if I'm off, I could be homeless. This is modern life. Talk about the mental ill or impacts that stress can have if not addressed.
Well, the first thing that you say is that 30 days where, there's these bills that we have to pay. And I think that often takes precedence over everything. Our physical health at times, I won't say all the time, but our physical health as well as our mental health. Mm-hmm. And when we're pushing those things to the side, it's always there until it's addressed. And what happens is the stress becomes worse. And our body, and this is what I say to my clients, is our body talks to us, but sometimes we're not listening. And if we do take the time to listen to what our body is saying, it's screaming to us saying, we need to get that support, we need to get the help, we need to slow down, we need to rest, and we need to look at certain challenges that we're faced with. And what I had mentioned before, not only just recognizing that there's an issue and a concern, but then we need to address it. And we're very good as a community to just keep going. I used to call myself the endurer. So I would just endure challenges because that's what you do. You just keep working. You have to pay your rent, your mortgage, you have to take care of your children, and right. But there comes a point where if we don't address it, then it's going to catch up with us, whether that be by a physical health concern, a mental health concern, or something else alike, right? So it's really important for us to acknowledge that we have the stress and that it is okay to slow down and get the support and the help that we need. So I hope that that answered your question. But really, to wrap it all up, if we don't deal with the stress, it's always going to be there. And we don't want it to take us out, right? Because the help is there.
Talk about some of the stigma in our community around mental health. And, being from Jamaica, because I have a large audience in Jamaica, talk about culturally as Jamaicans, the stigma that you see when addressing our community in particular.
I would say that there is a minimizing of the issues and challenges that we experience, or I'd say even I think about my mother and father there when they were growing up, so it's that, or not even not understanding that there is a mental health concern or there is an addiction, saying somebody is an alcoholic or somebody has depression or some other severe mental health concern. So having to acknowledge that is to accept that that's a part of who you are. And I want to say that it's a part of, because if somebody has a mental health issue or a substance use concern or an addiction, it doesn't mean that that's the whole person. And I think that the stigma with that is if you acknowledge it or if you go and get help, that's admitting that there is a problem. And then we are very much a community where we don't tell people our business. We don't tell people our problems because we're going to be judged or you'll look at as less than. So that's the stuff that keeps people isolated and keeps people sick. So I think conversations like these, if it's one person that we're able to help and support, once they get that support, hopefully if they come into contact with someone else, they can then pass that information along to someone else. But the stigma is real, and we need to keep having these conversations.
So that you made a good point. What is the benefit of seeing a professional? Because sometimes in our community, we just want to tell our brethren, talk to our sister, and we want to unload all of our burdens on this person, who we call best friend or a good brethren. And, talk to us about, some of the pitfalls or the downside of just unloading on someone who's not trained or cannot deal with you objectively. What are some of the concerns?
So there's two questions you asked me. What are the challenges of unloading? And then what are the benefits of seeing let's say a health professional? So the challenges of unloading is that if you're sharing information about or your challenges that you're faced with a family member, a friend, and they don't know how to handle that information, they may brush it off. They may give you wrong advice or advice that's not helpful for you. And if you're not strong in who you are as a person, or you don't trust yourself, you don't trust your instincts, you may follow advice that is not right for you, and it might make things worse. And to then unload on somebody else, they're probably looking at things. I shouldn't even say probably. If they are someone who loves and care for you, they are going to be talking to you from a subjective manner. So this is what I think you should do, or if it was me, this is what I would do, right? So I think those things come from a very helpful place, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's the best place. So I think about, you may have heard this, the saying before, there's impact versus intent, right? Okay. So sometimes we intend to be really helpful, but the impact can be detrimental. So that, I would say, is the downside of loading on a family member or a friend. But the positive to that too is if it's somebody that you love and you trust, then you're actually getting some of that stuff off of your chest. And what I have been doing over the last recently few years is asking if I am connecting with a family member or friend that I trust, I will say, do you have the capacity to hear what it is that I want to talk about? Or I need you to just listen. I don't need advice. Or I'd like your suggestion. So being very specific as to what you want.
So the type of support, yes.
Yes. Now the positive side, and of course I'm biased, but the positive side to seeing a health professional, a social worker such as myself, is you're working with someone who is objective. So they don't know you from the past. So you're going to share information with that individual, and they're going to give you information objectively. And the hope is that it's information that's helpful, that will support you, and that will lead you along your healing journey. The other thing too is when you're talking and you're hearing yourself speak, you also get some clarity as to things that are going on. And sometimes we get the answers when we're talking, right? And I will say a lot of the times we know what it is that we're supposed to do, but because of all the noise, what I call noise, so different opinions from other people, from what society says you should do, we forget, right? So for my approach with providing therapy is to help people to remember who they are, and then remember, when I say remember, I mean remember who you are, what is important for you, and how to heal yourself. I'm not saying that I don't believe in medication, so I hope people are not hearing that. But I'm not a physician, but if I can help people on their journey to help heal themselves in the most natural way as possible, and I don't want to get into too much detail, but what I think about is talking about issues and concerns. And then what are natural supplements, herbs that can help with the mental and the physical, and also be in consultation with your physician. But just to sum it all up, having a health professional that you're speaking with is someone who's objective and has your best interest at heart and doesn't know all the other people in your life and all the other factors that may cloud their judgment.
Yeah, and you're not Rastafari person, but you're someone who is very proud of your culture. How does your culture and your race, because as Black people sometimes you may go to a therapist and maybe they're not cultural in the same culture, they're not another Black person. So when you're telling them, for example, if there's something that has to do with racial discrimination or microaggressions in the workplace and it's chipping away, is that a factor? Do you consider that to be a factor in terms of the benefit of having someone who is a professional but also, can identify with your Blackness? Because I think one of the things that I'm looking at is that after slavery, there wasn't a mass assembly line of mental health specialists to come and talk to our ancestors. Their descendants didn't get the you know what I mean? So we've never addressed certain things as a community. So there's things that are unique to us as a people that are not maybe identifiable to a professional who may be well qualified, in the theory, but can't connect with the lived experience. Is that a factor, or how do you see that as a Black social worker?
So I will say it depends on the person, because when I think about my past experience, I've seen a white therapist in the past and they've been helpful. Now, where I'm at this stage in my life, I wouldn't do that, because that just wouldn't work for me anymore, right? So I think what's really important is to have a therapist that you feel you're comfortable with, but I think it's really important when I think about having somebody that looks like you. There's an understanding about things that you don't even necessarily have to go into detail and explain and provide the backstory, because there is there's that knowing and there's that understanding. What I tell all of my potential clients before they become my client is, so I'll give them a consultation where we'll speak over the phone. I'll get a sense of what the challenges are that they're facing and see if I think it would be a right fit. If it isn't a right fit, I don't want to do harm by saying, yes, I'll still see you, but then I don't have the skills and the understanding of whatever challenges they're dealing with to be able to support them. And I also say to them, it's a two-way street. So if you're talking to me and you don't feel comfortable, I'm not going to be offended. So make sure you pick the person that you feel comfortable with. Because when you're comfortable, that's when you'll be open and you'll want to share more of what's going on as opposed to holding things back. And if you're holding things back when you're in a therapy session, then you're not really getting to the root, because I'm holding some information that's important. So for me, at this stage in my life, and I'll say post George Floyd and having all of this conversation about racism, microaggressions in the workplace, and the growing that I've done and being, I don't know if I can say that I'm much stronger in my Blackness, but I've always been proud to be Black. But because of who I am and what's important to me, it's important for me to have a Black. It would be important for me to have a Black therapist.
And explain what a microaggression is for some of my audience that they might not know those terms. What is a microaggression?
So first of all, the term microaggression, there's nothing micro about it, because micro is really small. Microaggression is those subtle comments and those subtle behaviors that you may be subjected to by people that don't look like you. And actually, we can also do that amongst ourselves, but it's very subtle, and you're wondering, is that racism? Did somebody just make a jab at me? Did they, what was that? So you start questioning yourself. But it's an assault on a person, assault on you mentally, emotionally, physically, and the harm with that too is because it's so insidious. It's just you start to. It's like you're doing these mental gymnastics to try to figure out like what's going on here. What is it that I'm experiencing? And what often happens is people will doubt themselves. So micro because of how subtle it is, but the impact is quite huge.
And
I would say the difference between that and racism. Outright racism is somebody is actually blatantly saying to you or behaving in a way that discriminates against you because of your race.
And I think a lot of us who work in the system, we should aspire to at all times self-determination. Even if you have another business, I always tell people you cannot leave your children a job. Yes, the job is good, but I think the Most High calls us to a purpose, and we should always try to identify what is it that is unique about me. What am I here to do? What am I here to contribute? And how can I monetize and put something around it so it's sustainable and it can help to contribute to my quality of life? And I think that's so crucial. And I really admire your drive, because a lot of people just want to stay in the system, but your passion to say, okay, I'm going to go out there and take that chance and establish a brand around this challenge in our community that has a stigma, I think it is very important. And I think you're going to see an explosion of people seeking therapy, because some don't need therapy. I'm going to be honest to the idea. Some of the idea need to talk to someone and stop, petty differences. A lot of time we're in the organization, the work doesn't work because people are stressed out and don't have nothing to do with the situation at hand. It's the fight or flight response, that is turned on, and we have to be conscious. I want to touch the third rail in this conversation for the Black community, which is the whole topic of molestation in our community and how that impacts, because I have a theory, you don't have to agree with I, but we know that in slavery there was mass industrialized abuse and molestation that occurred, We also know that, you know, it's not unusual for someone who is molested to then go on and molest. So as I said, there was not a mental health brigade that came and dealt with our people. So a lot of this hidden curse, generational curse of molestation that lives in our community, I think the vestige of the slavery that they don't talk about. But talk about, you know, this challenge, and then we're going to talk about some solution. But is this something that you have seen or that you think is a challenge for our community?
I would say that is definitely a challenge for our community, and it's something that is not talked about. And if it is something that's talked about, it's in a roundabout way, it's not direct. And I think about the differences between men and women in terms of how they will explain or talk about that experience of molestation, of rape, of sexual assault. And I would say for women, they will come out and then there will be that, you know, we'll eventually have that conversation about what happened. And if there's not that understanding of exactly what happened, I know something happened, but it wasn't right. You know, we are there, they're able to digest that information more and able to, when they go through that healing process, actually say, this is exactly what happened to me. Obviously, that would be shared in confidence with whomever they're sharing that information with. I would say men, on the other hand, you know, there isn't necessarily, I would say, that verbal, at least that verbal acknowledgement of that experience. It would be, so I think about, I've heard many stories like this more than once, where it's, when I was younger, I had a babysitter, or I had an auntie, and I had an experience, or, you know, or I lost my virginity at such and such age with an older woman that was an auntie or somebody in the neighborhood. But that wasn't something that was consensual, or that wasn't something where they said, this is what I want to do. But the way it's explained, it's very different.
It's
And
glorified. It's glorified.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah,
I can tell
yeah.
you that because I'm a man. I can tell you that it's glorified, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes.
So
That is,
those differences, yeah, those differences are the things that I would say that I've seen. And to be able to, and this is I guess I'll say a therapy word, but to be able to unpack that, and also to get a sense of where does that come from, and why is it packaged in that way? You know, those are the things to talk about, and then continue to move forward with the healing.
all right. So let's talk about some solutions and
Mhm.
some things that people can do. We touched briefly on exercise. How important is that? And then talk about some of the other solutions. And I think overall, Black people have problems with their weight. You know, a lot of people are carrying the stress on them.
Mhm.
You know, I can't remember the percentage of Black women in particular that are overweight or obese, but I think it's almost as high as 70% in some places, you know? So talk about some of the solutions that we can be implementing day to day.
So, as we mentioned earlier, exercise is probably one of the greatest ways to improve mental health. And I would be a hypocrite if I sat here and said I exercise all the time. It's still something that is a work in progress for me as well. But it really is, research has shown that exercise is something that is very much helpful. Eating healthy as well. I think about the foods that we eat now, the stuff that's in the food, processed foods are not good for us. You know, so being mindful of what we're putting in our body, fruits, vegetables, and also what we're consuming. What are we in terms of what we see? So what are we watching? What are we listening to? Those things are important too.
So you can't watch the murder shows 24/7. Eh?
No, please don't watch the murder shows 24/7, and also before bed. Like, I think about what you're watching before you go to bed, or what you're listening to before you go to bed. And I don't want to get too deep into the whole metaphysical and all of that stuff. But it's
This
like,
is a
then what is
platform, you know. My audience love metaphysical. If you want to come in,
But what is that that's on your mind just before you're going to bed? And then you're waking up with what? How are you feeling? Are you feeling depressed? Are you feeling anxious? You know, so sometimes it's making those changes as a start before even seeing a therapist that can make a big difference. You know, so, and then of course seeing a therapist as well, and surrounding yourself with people that are loving and supportive. For me, I'm very intentional with who it is that I allow into my space. And, you know, we talk about, you know, as Jamaican people, and I'm sure West Indian people as well, like, oh, my spirit didn't take this person, or being in this area. Like, those are the things we need to trust, because as I said, our body talks to us, our spirit talks to us, and a lot of the times we don't listen. So I think even just being able to connect with that mind body, that's the stuff that will start to shift. And we've just touched the tip of the iceberg with some of these solutions. And one thing that we don't really do well is rest, because it's laziness, which is not laziness. You know what I mean?
About it.
Right. And rest isn't just sleep, right? So being able to rest our body needs to heal. And it's not just when we're sleeping at night. So those are a couple of solutions.
Yeah, and I'm over 40 years old. I'm not going to say how the sister age, but I need a nap every now and then. You know, on the battlefield, you have to take a nap sometime and rejuvenate yourself, and don't feel shame.
Exactly.
That you're lazy, or, you know, because it's counterproductive when you're trying to do the work and you're not enough, or you're not sharp doing the work. So it's better you take the nap, and then you can move forward. But I love this. Talk to I about your vision for Black people. What do you want to see in your community? You know, what ideally, if you could snap your fingers and have it be so, what would you like to see?
My battery's gonna die. So the first thing that comes to my mind is being collective, you know, being you know, us supporting each other, helping each other, and just knowing that there's enough room for everybody to heal and to do well. And when I think about my practice, my approach, it's helping people not only just talking through, or guiding and supporting and providing resources, but also going back to healing ourselves naturally. So when I say naturally, as I had mentioned before, certain herbs and supplements that can also help the body heal, right? Without putting the toxic stuff. As I said, I am not against medication. I don't want people to hear that I am not a doctor at all, but I do want to see.
But this is the right audience. This is the right audience, because most of my audience, you know, are Rastafari people, Panafrican people, and they're holistic. You know, they're dealing with herbal medicine already.
Okay, so I want us to, and I want us to have the courage to have conversations, because when we have that courage and we have those conversations, then we come together and we're stronger together, right? So once we're stronger together and we are providing information to each other, there's things that I've learned, I would say in the last 2 years, that I didn't know in my X plus years of living, that I wish I knew before. And now I can pass that. That's helped me, and I can pass that information on willingly to other people that look like me, my Black brothers and sisters, because when I look at them, when I speak to them, I always see a piece of me in them. So it really is about that unity and spreading that knowledge, so that we can help each other to grow, to heal, and just to be whole.
All right, we're almost finished, but I have a global audience. Explain what it's like for Black people in Canada and Toronto, and what the make. When I was growing up, when we were growing up as youths, every Black person that you met was from the Caribbean, or their parents were from the Caribbean. Now I'm visiting and I'm seeing more Africans. I think when I was there, we had a lot of Somalians, but we never really have too much Ethiopian and Nigerians, and you never really book up them people there, at least in Scarborough, you know what I mean? But what just explain, because I want to put context for the global audience in terms of what Toronto looks like and why there's a need for what you're doing, your vision, and why we need to really focus on this so that we can come together and build, because we're not coming together the way we need to be. And part of that is because of the trauma, the flight or fight. We either run away from the organization or the work, or we fight each other about foolishness. Every other community working together, but again, they don't have our historical baggage, and we got to start to, as the sister say, unpack some of these things. But explain, just give us an overview of what the Black experience is like in Canada, in Toronto in particular.
So you're right, it was diverse in terms of people from different Caribbean islands. However, most of the people were Jamaican. And, and if you go into spaces, we would dominate in terms of either with being born from there or our parents are born from there. But the demographics have really changed in the sense that, you're hearing more about people from different Caribbean islands, but more so African. So I think about, as you said, Nigerians, Ghanaians, Kenyan, people from Eritrea. So you're hearing that more. And the thing is, I find that there's the West Indian people here, and then you have the Africans here. And there is such diversity, but there's a lot of similarities. And we do need to come together. And I'm finding that, and this is just from my own experience, but I'm finding that it's slowly happening, but there's a lot more work that needs to be done. And I feel like if the African people that I would say that have come in more recent years are probably getting I don't want to say the same level, but similar to people that have been here for many years that haven't sought support, right? So we're now starting to do that a little bit more, but it's the conversation. Conversation needs to be had, and it is happening, but it has to be more.
Yeah, because they went through colonialism. Yeah, they went through colonialism, which was just, very terrible as well. So there's a lot of baggage from our African brothers and sisters that they carry, just like we carry from our experience. So I just want to give thanks. I know you're coming off of a long day. This is actually our second interview. I can't talk about the first one, my mental health. I got suffer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's not talk about that.
But I give thanks that you are so gracious to come forward, and this is an example, family, of why it's good to maintain your relationships and live good with people.
Mm-hmm.
And you can collaborate with the works down the line. So this is a joy to really get a chance to talk to my sister and to have her knowledge, help to bless our family and to make these conversations be normalized within the Rastafari and the Pan-African community, because we do not want any stigma around mental health. We want brethren who are tormented. We want sisters who feel tormented. We want people who feel depressed. And before we even seal up, because very key, a lot of people are going through depression and don't even know. What are some of the signs of depression? And what should we be looking for potentially in our family or our brethren, our sister, to see signs that someone may be depressed?
So first of all, before I even answer that question, as you were talking, it just gives me great joy, because we're having this, and you've probably heard me say this maybe about 100 times today, is that us having this conversation, it's so important. I get excited because if I'm able to share some information that can help somebody move them or in a direction that will help them to heal and to get better, or to provide information to somebody else, then I feel that I've done what I'm supposed to do. In terms of the question about what are some signs of depression, so signs typically would be if you are sad, you're down, you're feeling sad for a period of 2 weeks or more. That's typically what we would say, so consistently. if you, I would say, and some other signs would be, and also the signs that I'm about to explain doesn't mean you have depression, but these are some things to look out for. If you're having difficulty sleeping, and that wasn't an issue before, lack of appetite, or you're eating more. So the eating is outside of the behavior of what you're used to. And if you have low motivation, difficulty concentrating, focusing, and then for our community specifically, which there are some differences, if you're finding that you're more angry, more irritable, let's just say you're cussing out people more than you usually would, your tolerance is low. And again, this is stuff that's out of character. These are some of the things to look out for. So there are many other things that could be signs or symptoms, but these are just a few to be really mindful of. But really with depression, it's that sadness for that period of 2 weeks or more.
Okay, give thanks. So let the people know how they can connect with the eye. This is part one, that anybody who come on this platform, they become family to the network. And we're gonna see, I'm holding my sister accountable for writing a book about Black people and mental health. So I'm putting it on the record. We're gonna check in with her to make sure she's making that progress, because we wanna see the branding. We wanna see the, you know what I mean? We wanna see you step out there and be able to help our community without shackles or chain. So I definitely want you to just share how ones can keep up with the eye and reach out if they want to take anything further.
Okay, so if people do want to reach out to me, I would say 2 ways at this point, and then maybe you can share that information after on this video. But if people are on Instagram, they can reach me at, so just to say my business, I think I mentioned it earlier, is aligned with TLC Wellness and Consultation Services Inc. But on Instagram, it's align.with.tlc wellness. And then also they can reach me by email. And I don't want to, I'll just say it's Tanya Campbell MSW@gmail.com. And it's Tanya with an I. So TANIA and Campbell, like the soup. CAMPBELLMSW@gmail.com.
Okay.
And even if people have questions that they want to ask,
exactly,
then I'd be open to providing information that I can. If I don't know, I'm going to say that I don't know.
Yes.
Or if I'm able to, I will be able to look for that information and then I can pass that along. So just take that courage and have the first step to reach out.
And let her know that you saw this here at the Lion Voice. Again, we're bringing different resources, different things that we can spark the decision. That we can spark the discussion, because one of the things that is the tagline for this channel is that we're cultivating the Rastafari family to lead a prosperous Rastafari future. And to lead a family, your mental health has to be up. You really have to balance yourself. Both the man and the woman, need to be balanced mentally. And so we can't take the willy-nilly, the loosey-goosey. I say loosey-goosey. I burn out loosey-goosey, on this platform. The thing get too loose. So we need to put structures. We need to put format investment into our mental health and wellness. And this is just, again, the beginning. We're going to continue this discussion. I want to give thanks for you taking your time to come and bless the Lion Pride on Patreon. And again, we're going to keep in touch with you. And when the book is released, I want that I come forward on this platform so that people can see how things go from a word sound to manifestation. That's part of our divinity.
Yes, love it.
As Black people, we take it from a thought and make it manifest. So, any final words to?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked me that. So, you said this is the first, and we'll have this conversation, keep having this conversation. The other thing that I think is so important is for the people that have children. So, if you have children, how you are as a parent will trickle on to our children. And it's very important for them to see parents as healthy as possible because our children model us. And there were a lot of decisions where I've been in situations where I've had experiences where I wasn't doing so well. But for me, when I didn't feel like I wanted to do it or I could do it for myself, I thought about I have a little person watching me. So that's another thing to keep into consideration because we talk about changing our history and then what about the future? So we have to remember the future, and that's our children. So that would be my final thought for now.
Give thanks. We are the generation that come to break the generational curses. So we give thanks, my sister. This is Tanya Campbell, high school sister. So you can see the network broad. You understand? So family, give thanks for taking your time, and always remember that the time has come for the lions to tell our own story. And this is the Lion's Voice.
Lion voice. Emmanuel, those anointed by Samuel, we lions like Daniel, brothers like Ishmael and Israel, here to break the spell. Oh companions, I bid farewell, cause I see you joining up with the legions of hell. I spit flames, fire blaze, I cut a clear path through the wrath, protected by his rod and staff, while the wicked blow away like the shaft in the aftermath of their own craft, snared in their own trap set like Hamlet. I never will forget my root, King David's offshoot. That's why I speak the truth at all costs. Don't wanna get tossed in the sinking mire, the forgetful fire, full of tormented souls who never achieve their goals. That's why I hold up the banner high. Rastafari abide with I. Let's ride for life. Tell the youths about the king in the heights, Mount Zion nice. Say you ain't got to die to see it. That's the lie, you see. That's why so many perish, never even try to see it. When you could buy a plane ticket, straight fly and see it. Come on. Say you should do good, be good, live good. Like you should do good, be good, live good. Hey yo, time to fly away. Yard up in the Mount Zion, moon, see iron of the day. In the mama Africa, feel the sun rays. Hail Rastafari, give thanks and praise. Hey yo, rubber Babylon, them got you captivate. Cause all you talk about is just the money that you make. Well, money they make, got the slave master, face master, still control them. The devil still hold them. I focus my thoughts on the one who hold the golden scepter. Some call him elector God. I know there's no separation. Africa awaits, so we making preparations. Black liberation. Hey yo, we must rise. No time to fantasize. Babylon sex don't gotta standardize. Them slave ships so can be romanticized. The vandals come slave and vandalize. Even the black woman them come scandalize. Them try to fight. Race all trace of the 12 tribes. Can't put your trust in Pharisees and scribes. So highly Selassie, I never take no bribes. Got to do good, that's the way to survive. So you should do good,